Welcome back to Heard It Here. I am your host today, Lakota Downs, and I am meeting with Stephen Kaser from Osborne, Kansas, one of our consigners in our bull test and sale.
Yeah. So just a little background on me. My family, my dad and I, we started selling bulls about in the middle 80s. Been selling bulls with the Kansas bull test. 2 years ago, it decided to call it quits and stuff, and I was still looking to, I thought I had some decent bulls, that could do people some good, and so reached out to Colby out here, and so then I got started coming out here 2 years ago.
Have you enjoyed the last 2 years of sending bulls here? Is it something you hope to continue to do in the future, or your situation in there?
Oh yeah, yep. I plan on keep on bringing, and I don't have a big herd and stuff, and I do some AIing but I don't do any embryo work or anything like that, and so. But yeah, I plan on keep on coming out. So
we greatly.
I'm well pleased with what's going on out here, how you feed the bulls and take care of them and everything. So yeah,
that'd be great. This year you had a bull that won our bull test, so it was the best growth. And going off of our grow safe data that we get, you want to talk a little history on that bull? I know we talked a little bit about him on the phone the other day about when he was first a calf and him when you still had him before he got here, and then how he's kind of changed since he's been here.
Yeah, so when this calf, my son actually seen him born first, and he come into the house, he said, "Dad, there is a calf out there that's a stud." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Oh, okay. I've seen some pretty good bulls, so didn't think much about it, but when I went out and got my eyes on him, it was like, yeah, he looks like he's going to have all the tools to make a good bull and stuff, and so if you look at him now, all he's done is gotten bigger. The depth of body, the depth of rib and everything on him. The only thing you might change about him, somebody might want to stretch him a little bit maybe. But, otherwise, yeah, he's a good-looking calf.
Yep. Have you seen much change in him from when you dropped him off to now? I know you went and looked through him. Are you much changing it that way, or has he still stayed pretty consistent, just gotten larger?
Oh, yeah, no, he's just gotten larger and more, just stayed everything still flat across the top and square. And so, yeah, he hasn't changed anything except for gotten bigger. So
I know when we start looking at our numbers, a big number on our bull test and everything is our RFI, which is our residual feed intake. The lower the number, the better, which he was our number 3 bull in RFI, that PE041 bull, with a 2.47. The best bull we had on RFI was only a 2.81, so he still was very competitive. Residual feed intake goes more on how much use they are getting out of their feed, that for actually what they are eating, they're turning into weight. As a producer, if you were to buy bulls or buying a set of replacement heifers or whatever, how does that translate to you with a more efficient animal that's using every ounce out of his feed?
Yeah, so, that's the thing is, we talked about this beforehand that, all the embryo work and all the identical calves going on, I can take the same cow and say bull and breed her 100 times. I'm not going to get another calf like this.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm proud of this calf and knew, he could do good things. Did I knew he could do this? No, I didn't. But if you back around and feed your own cattle and stuff, this is a calf you better look at and look to buy.
Yep. And then there's a bunch more that go along with this. The average dry matter intake. So if we skip down the page a little bit, he consumed about 27 pounds a day, but had an average daily gain of 5.15 pounds. So like you said, again, going to the guys that are going to be using him on cows or heifers and then selling to backgrounders, they'll definitely see that advantage of that increased average daily gain to finish those calves a little faster. Residual average daily gain, the difference between the animal's actual weight gain and its predicted gain based on its dry matter intake.
So that's a number. You want that number like it is. If you look at those numbers on that page, he's the highest. He's a 1.03.
Yep.
Well, the next closest bull to him is a I think I glanced through it. There's a 0.65.
0.85.
Okay, there's a
Is that number
0.85.
2? Yep. So that's
Okay.
a number you want higher. So he outperformed what he was predicted to do off of his feed intake, which that kind of goes back to, again, he's 2.47 on his RFI. So, I mean, he just was real efficient through his feed conversions.
Yeah, he converted
getting his
everything
weight
really
put on.
better.
Yep.
And, his genetics and stuff converted everything, so well. Easy keeping bull, easy fleshing,
Yep.
and so...
Looking at him and his stuff and looking at these numbers, trying to get more efficient bulls, is that something you would use these numbers for, to try to pick pairs and breed cows in a different way?
Yeah, so his sire come from Lynn Pelton Simmental Red Angus down here in Burdett, Kansas. Okay, so that's what they're breeding for. That's what they're known for, is their carcass and all that merit and stuff. And so, this calf is just from a bull that I bought from him. And so yeah, well, in fact, another son of his was in the top 5, I believe last year, so yeah, it's definitely a bull that I'm going to try to, look at the cows that I'm going to breed to and try to breed him to some cows that will help that matter out and make it more efficient, or more consistent anyway, we'll put it that way, and so the first year I just kind of took the data, and now this year, I'll probably take more of the data this year, because now, like you say, now I've learned that this bull can do this consistently, putting bulls in the top 5 for feed efficiency. And so, yeah, I'll take that data back and, like I say, try to breed it to my cows that, I think pass that along. So I kind of butcher my own meat. And so I can kind of go, I haven't kept any of his to butcher and stuff, but like different cows and stuff, and I keep track of what cows and stuff and the marbling and stuff as we're butchering, and we just butcher for family and stuff, and so I get information back from them of was this tough, or whatever, and so yeah, I can kind of pick cows and stuff that I get back for feedback from them, and kind of breed this bull to those cows, and and see where it goes, and so.
Have you seen any difference or comparisons between the bulls you brought us last year versus the bulls you brought us this year?
So, like I say, I just got done looking at them, and the bulls are in great condition, and so I can't tell that. No, the bull. I mean, I can't, as far as that goes. The bulls look in great condition, just like they did a year ago.
Have you seen any change in, like, phenotypically looking, besides that, as an animal you're going to buy to breed to cows? Have you seen any change in them that way, as which, like, maybe there's more bulls you like this year better than bulls you liked last year, or vice versa?
No, I think you can go through that herd out there and, and pick whatever feature. If you need a little more frame, there's bulls out there that'll do that. There's bulls with, if you want less or whatever, like you say, walking through the bulls a year ago compared to here today, there's bulls out there for every whichever way you want to go, with your herd and stuff. And so yeah, it's, there's just a good quality of bulls out there to look at. The question was, I don't know if you heard or not, but to see how many bulls I had to pick from. So, I take about 140 pair to grass, and I did not have as many bulls to pick from as usually I try to keep 25 to 30. And then once I go to weaning time, it get cut down to what I think will bring here. So, but no, I didn't have, I guess my color and stuff wasn't quite what I thought. The black ones, some of them had a little bit of a red or a brown tint, in places and stuff. And so, now some of them bulls, when I got them in and weaned them, I was like, I probably shouldn't have cut you. But, so I think I only took about 18 to 20 bulls to grass. So I was down a little bit, but not much. Now, this year, I accused my AI person of putting in sex semen, because out of 19 AI'd calves, I have 15 heifers. So I was like, you really messed me up there. But so we're kind of looking at, and in fact, there's a half brother to this 041. Now I didn't breed it the same, but he looks pretty good, and so he's off to a good start. He's 4 days old now, so he looks like a calf that'll probably be coming out here next year, and so there'll be a half brother to this 041, but a different sire, and so. But yeah, they'll probably. I mean, I may not have as many to pick from again. It'll probably be under 20 again to pick from. And so. But in the end, I try to stay around that 8 to 12 bull range. Is where I try to be every year. So.
So what's the main criteria and things you're looking at from as young calves before you cut them, and then again at weaning when you're picking out your select few that actually come here? What are you looking for through the stages that produce a good bull for you?
Yeah, so one is these guys. I gotta like the way he looks. If I don't like the looks of him, I kind of like, well, nobody else is gonna like the looks of him either. But so I also go through I go through and breed, do a pre-breeding and get their EPDs and stuff. And so, and then I kind of go off of that, does he have cavities? Is he low birth weight? Does he have growth? For the maternal side, does it have milk, that it can produce replacements for people, And so those are kind of the criteria I go through because, being with the bull tests and stuff, everybody was wanting cavities and stuff, and so that's where I've kind of went with my herd is, give you some cavities, but not really heifer bulls, because some of these bulls of mine in here say you could use on heifers. Yes, you could probably use, and they're bulls that I would use on heifers, but my heifers are also close, where I can get, I check on them pretty regular, and if I have to get something in there, right there where I can get them in, these bulls here, yeah, you could use them, but they're not bulls that, these guys, this is one you can sleep all night with. I don't sell those types because if you look at my bulls, they also have the growth to, gain after they're on the ground. So, you've got to kind of watch those because you're going to get a decent sized calf. You're not going to get a monster, you hope, but if you know your cow's background, and that's kind of where I'm at is, I know the cow's background, I know her EPDs, and so I can kind of tell, if she's going to have a pretty good sized calf or, and so yeah, that's how I kind of go through my process of bringing bulls here or whether I keep them because, we'll run the calves through the chute here in about 3 weeks. And that's where they'll get the axe at first, So anything that is pretty much above a 0 for a birth weight EPD pretty much gets the axe. Now, if it looks like a really good stud, I might fudge that number a little bit. Those numbers change, every 3 days. It doesn't matter what breed you are. Everybody turns in cattle and data darn near every day. So all those numbers of those bulls, it affects those numbers and they change. So, you give yourself a little leeway there, starting here off the bat. And then once we get down to, first October when I wean them, why then, then the numbers still change, but they're not going to change that much between what you see here in the book to then. So,
yep. And then I know you also talked about you using some AI and everything in your operation. Is that something you can see yourself expanding on and maybe AIing more cows in the future or using less or?
So we AI the heifers mainly right now. And then I used to take the time and try to register to AI cows. Didn't have very much success doing that. So I still run the cows through and give some shots, but now I take like my new herd bulls. So I just bought 2 new herd bulls up in Minnesota, and from ridden Semitoles, and so now I'll take them 2 bulls and actually stick them with. There's 21 pair that I have where I do my AI and stuff, and so give them their shots and stuff, and then I'll stick them 2 bulls in. And I've had a lot better luck of getting conception and stuff with cows doing that instead of, taking the calf off and doing all the other, stuff and then putting, AI in them, and so I've had a lot better luck doing it this way. So I think that's the way I'll continue doing that part of it. And then, and so, but, as far as the heifers, I mean, I do stick some Angus semen in. I do stick some red Angus semen in and, and to get half-blood stuff too, so.
So through your past 2 years here, what is your perspective and your thoughts through the CCC bull test program and sale and dealing with the students and everything? How do you see that?
Yeah, so the students and stuff, they're real helpful, I mean, and, if there's any questions or anything they need from me, why, they're easy to deal with and, and so, you go out there and look at the animals, and your customers from the past, I mean, they'll have more, but, my 2 years here, I mean, you go out there and look and compare from last year to this year, the bulls are still in the same great shape. Nobody's really over fat. Nobody, I mean, some of them places you get, they're overfed or whatever, and have a little more flat, and so compared to every place else, the Kansas bull tests has been fed at, they do a great job out here of, just making sure the bulls have what they need and, and don't, overdo it. So yeah, I'm well pleased with, everybody out here, how they take care of my cattle.
Is there anything within the way we do it in our program that you would see different or any suggestions you have for it?
Yeah, you get another set or what do you need? About 2 more pins of
Grow Safe bunks?
Grow Safe bunks.
Yeah.
I guess that was my one thing when I drove out here, it's like, because, so you do get about, 60% of the bulls?
Yeah, so we had...
that are in the Grove Safe.
We had a little more. We had 45 to 50 bulls this year on our Grow Safe bunks out of 72 that we initially started with.
Yeah.
So we're, 60, 65% somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Is what we started, is what was able to be on Grow Safe this year. That is something would be greatly appreciated if we could add, our other 2 pens that we have bulls in, if we could get 10 more bunks and
because I'm sure they just give them away,
Yeah,
I mean, you just sign a piece of paper and they just say, "Oh, here you go," you know.
Yeah, and
so, but that's the thing is there's, those 20 bulls out there that aren't in this program. Is there a bull that we as consumers didn't, And so you kind of asked, and we kind of picked the bulls that we thought would do good, in this program, Well, is those, out of those 20 that didn't make it in, is there, we don't know
if
there's one of them bulls over in that pen that was better than mine.
Yes.
Is
there anything you look at specifically when you're trying to pick the bulls that I know we allowed only certain many in the Grow Safe pens? Is there anything in specifically you're picking, or are you just going to pick the ones you think are the best bulls on EPDs and phenotypically, and those are the ones you're going to pick, or is there any other information you use to decide that?
No, well, and so some of that goes into, I kind of look at the cows on that, is this cow an easy keeper? Okay, yes, she is, and doesn't take much to keep her fat and fleshy, well, this bull will probably perform, and that's kind of where 041, the one that won it this year, that mother, she is a bigger frame cow, but, she stays fleshy, and she, and so, but, so yeah, you can that's how I kind of pick them is, the flesh, how easy fleshing the cow is compared to, some of the others and stuff. And so that's how I kind of pick them that way. But like I say, the 2 bulls of mine or 1 bull of mine that didn't make it in, who knows if he'd have been there, he might have been better than, because you don't know.
You don't know.
And so, but, and if you go and walk in those pens, you look at those bulls and stuff, I mean, you could have thrown all them bulls in one pen and, there's no, you know, like I say, there's good bulls in those pens that didn't get put in there, that if they would have been in there, would they have, you know,
Perform better.
performed better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only way we can really compare between across the board is our average daily gains and our starting and end weights. That's about the only number, which our average daily gain on that is going to be based off of when we weigh about every 2 weeks, so we can kind of see what they did in those 2 week spans at a time. But across the board, that's one of the few numbers that we can compare straight across with every animal, which it would be great if we could have another pen or two of Grow Safe pens.
Yep.
Have to do some hard convincing with the
With the board.
with the board to get enough money to see something like that happen. But
Yep.
that may be something, if this continues to grow, that may be looked at in the future. And would that change number of bulls you would bring? Would you be encouraged to bring more if you could put more on the test and get more information back?
So that's a good question. Like I say, only take about 140 pair or whatever to grass. And so the quality, you can only, I figure only about 10%. So, you got 14 bulls, it's probably going to be your best quality and stuff and more consistent. And so, yeah, could your numbers increase a little bit? Yes. But probably not going to change a whole lot. I've always been, like I say, we've been selling bulls since the middle 80s, and that's where we've always been, is that 8 to 12 range, and so yeah, that's kind of where we just have stayed and stuff. I'm not, I'm not one of those guys that wants to, have 20, 30 bulls, and I just ain't what I want to do. I just want to raise, a few good quality bulls. And
well, thank you for listening to our Heard It Here podcast today, and thank you to Stephen Kaser for coming and talking about our Grow Safe data and being a consigner for our Colby bull test and sale, and going over our information and data and EPDs with us. We hope we've beefed up your knowledge today, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Of course.